We heard from Spencer that maybe you'll do some walkthroughs and some other stuff. You guys are really going to try to get some extra time on special teams and put an emphasis on it, this spring. How's it going so far?
It's going good, and we've definitely need to put some emphasis, make some change, find a way. We want to make sure we're teaching to everybody's learning style. Everybody learns different, whether that's sensory, the walkthrough, sensory kinesthetic with a walkthrough. Certainly, you're getting the auditory. You're hearing us, as we talk, as we speak to in the meetings. We record all our meetings too, so our players have a chance to go back and watch them. And then you're getting the visual side of the PowerPoints and the video. So this allows us, talk to a lot of NFL teams in the off season, especially with them. They only have so much contact time, so they do a ton of walkthroughs. So our ability to find ways to add more time, number one, and two, make sure we're hitting everybody's learning style through that when we're getting the time we get on special teams.
Explosive plays in the return game. I know that was something last year we talked about, but you look, I think, 95th in kickoff return and 100 and something in punt return. Like, how do you find ways, and what do you think the biggest issue is in not getting more kind of game-changing plays in the return game?
Biggest issue is the finish. So that's the part we've got to finish. We were close. Nobody cares about close. We've got to find ways to make those explosive plays. And you look at it from a kick return standpoint, had multiple times where we have some things set up that we've got to be able to finish. So when I talk about finish, that's a final block phase. It's making sure we secure a double team. It might be the angle of the return. It may be a retrace and redirect. And so it's hard, the hardest thing for me to watch is seeing that's available and finish. So we've worked more in what I call the transitional phase. When we're breaking down special teams plays, all phases of it, we break it up into 4 phases. Phase 0, operation and alignment. Phase 1, win at the ball. Phase 2, win in phase 1, win at the line. Phase 2, win in transition. Phase 3, win at the ball. Our transition phase is an area we put a ton of focus on in this offseason because that's the areas we break it down that we've got to get better. I go back in January and February, watch every drill clip, watch every game clip. What are things that are showing up with a drill and then showing up? And that's the area we've got to get better at. We get better at that, we can break those, and we have to. We have to break those explosive plays, give our offense a better field position and a chance to score on special teams also.
Generally speaking, is it more the blockers or is it more the return?
It's a combination of both in those situations as I broke it down. It starts with the blocking phase and making sure that we're clean, that the returner has vision. Some of it's the vision point. Some of a kick return is an off returner look that you're trying to finish on. So all 3 of those showed up. Those were the 3 biggest ones, is that transitional phase with our blockers, some timing and spacing issues with the off returner, and then some aiming points that you're getting with the primary returner.
Who are you seeing stepping up in that blocking this year?
Well, I think part of it, I use Bowen Phelps as an example. Bowen Phelps struggled on special teams in 24. Bowen Phelps is probably our best special teams unit, 4-core unit player a year ago. So we've got some guys that have gotten some valued reps that are going to get better. I do believe some of these guys that we've brought in here, transfer-wise, can help us. I'm already seeing it in drills, what they're doing. There's a couple freshmen that have stepped up. So that's a combination of everybody. And it's a combination of the competition you're getting in practice too. And so making sure we're getting those guys on the field, and then it is the standard is the standard, and the finish has got to be better.
What do you look for in, who returns it?
Yeah, you're looking for, number one, who can catch the ball. It starts with that because both phases, kick return and punt return, you're getting the ball back. So it's a clean catch with the ball. And then can you make those decisions? And kick return is quite a bit different than punt return. There's a lot. And punt return, we may need to use multiple punt returners. We may need to use a guy situationally where it's a sky or a pin punt and our heels are at 7 that, hey, we got to make some decisions in there. That might be a different guy than we're in open field who has a little bit more juice but can't quite make those decisions as fast or as clean. So we are working through game-like situations with that over and over and over right now. That'll go through camp, continuing to put those guys in game situations, but it could be a deal where we use multiple guys at returner.
For the touchback, obviously, and I think you guys average about 19 yards per return. Well, is there I guess anything past the 25, but is there a target, like ideal starting field position that like considered where it leads to more points, or do you have like a target you would like? I know you'd say it's further 50 or as far as you can, but is there a number outside the 25 that would be ideal for starting possessions?
Yeah, I think if you're starting past the 30, you're working in the right direction. We show a chart of starting field position, the ability to score touchdowns, the ability to kick field goals, and it's exponential as you keep going past there. When you look at the rule, the fair catch rule, and we get asked this a lot, why don't you just fair catch it and put on the 25? I talk about starting field position all the time. Return average matters. Okay, that's a stat that you want to look at. What are we doing? What's more important is where is your starting field position? You want that to be past the 30-yard line, and even more, the farther out, the better. We obviously know that, but I think you have to look at that versus sometimes, hey, the average, average kick return is X amount of yards. That it doesn't matter. Somebody can sky kick you short. All of a sudden you're getting the ball past the 30, 35 yard line. I've had years where we had some really, really good return teams, and you're getting those kicks, and your return yardage may go down. Starting field position on both kick return and your kickoff team, to me, is the point that we got to drive home is. Give our offense the best chance to score. Give our defense the best chance to keep people back.
Obviously, it's early in the year, early in the season. Is anyone standing out so far that you're looking at for returning the ball?
Yeah, I think kick return wise, Dylan Riley. Dylan, his freshman year, did some really good things, struggled catching the ball. He's made a ton of growth, and he spent a lot of time on that. He's got elite speed. Dylan has jumped. Cam Bates does a nice job. Quentin does a nice job. Quentin Brown does a nice job. Those are all three guys. They're also guys that have developed more and more in an offensive role. Obviously, Dylan's really excelled. And so those are guys I look at from a kick return standpoint. From a punt return standpoint, we're working through a good chunk of guys right now. Q Brown's another guy. He's a baseball player too, a center fielder. So those things, a guy with juice, he can handle space. Jaden Mickey was a backup at Notre Dame, so he's been in that situation. He's an older guy, so he can make good decisions. You got some young guys with T-Fave, who's got really, really good juice. You're trying to get him just more comfortable catching the ball in different settings, but he's got juice and space, and he can do that. Madden Soliai's done a nice job off of that. Gavin Packer's a guy that's done. So there's a lot of guys we're sorting through in the early part of spring, but we'll continue to hone in on that. What you got to be careful of is getting too many returners back there, because those guys that are not going to return for you have value on special teams, right, on your punt return unit. So you want to make sure they're getting reps, whether that's blocking punts, blocking in space in that transitional phase that I'm talking about.
The way injury prevention, obviously you don't want your best offensive weapon to be taking too many hits. Do you ever weigh that at all? Or?
I think you do weigh it. I think you got to make real decisions on how good you want to be on a return team, and there's a lot of different examples with that, but if you want to be an elite return team, it sure as heck helps have the elite returner out there. But I think you got to have those real conversations behind closed doors too. How many times are you going to put these guys in a setting? Kick return, usually you see maybe some bigger hits because there's more space, there's more time, but you also have more time to catch the ball. Punt return really becomes that's a hard job. Is that ball's in the air, protect myself with a fair catch, grab it. Yeah, those are conversations we have, but we got to make sure we're putting guys back there that give us a chance to have game-breaking ability.
On the flip side, with the opponent's returns, how do you evaluate that? One of them was outside the top 100. I forget if it was kick return.
Yeah, so kick return, and so I think we had 12. No, I won't quote me. It's 12 or 13 kick returns. Of those 11 or 12, we are in a really good spot. We allow one out on New Mexico, unacceptable. You cannot give explosive plays in the return game. And so that's the one that breaks you. And Boomer was at 79% touchback rate. Well, at that point, he was 97%. So part of it, we've got to make sure we're putting our foot on the gas every time and expected return. If we can get Boom up to a 90% touchback rate, which is well in his ability, even though we're jumping into a different conference and elevations, that limits returns. And it's no different than baseball. If you give me pitches to hit, sooner or later, somebody's going to hit your pitch. So we need to get that. I think we had 47 returns and 24 against us. I think I got to tell them there's 12 or 13 last year against us. That's a huge difference right there. We cannot give up the one. You eliminate that one, that changes out. Nobody can eliminate that one that's out there. But I feel like we're in a much better spot than sitting here a year ago that we were with where we're at with it, with Boom doing that, and our ability to cover. And I got to continue to make sure we are putting on the gas. I don't care if he kicked the first 4 out. We are freaking hauling tail down there and making sure, don't assume that ball is going out the back.
Being a position coach at linebackers, your guys are probably going to be around, 6'2", 240 some odd pounds, give or take a few pounds that are an inch or two. When it comes to special teams, it's like a melting pot of dudes, all shapes, sizes, abilities. What's the challenge of making sure you got the right dudes on the field, the communication process, all of that, and is it a fun challenge? Because that's where some guys can pop and thrive too.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest challenge from a special team standpoint. And we treat it a lot here, no different than offense and defense. My job as a linebacker coach on defense, Coach Chin's That's my responsibility. He's coordinating the defense. We have position coach for everybody on special teams also. So it's no different. I'm coordinating it, make those calls through Coach Danielson, so on and so forth. We're going to use Nate Potter. We're going to use Eric Shenander a little bit more on special teams than what we've done in the past. We've kind of let those guys coordinate in that role in the past. They're going to help work with multiple. So getting some more coaches, some more eyes in that helps evaluate, hey, who are you putting where in those places? But you got to find out through drill work in special teams because a lot of these are different. Like you can line up, I think we ran 38 plays on offense and defense on Saturday. We ran 14 on special teams. Okay, so you got to be able to find out where those skill sets are at, who can do those unique things in a limited amount of time. And that's the biggest challenge of, hey, Jay may be able to do this skill at a very high level. I got to find a way. There's a drill, the limited amount of live looks that I have, that this is his superpower. What can he do better? And that mixed with, hey, how much are you using your starters? How many are you starting them on? How often? That is the mix and match that goes on all the time. Now, this time of year, spring and a lot of fall camp, we're a ton of competitive reps. Who's going to compete? Who's going to strain? Who can take the teaching from a meeting to a walkthrough to a drill and show us, hey, it's not just efforts. It starts with effort, but man, how can I take effort with that skill and put into a game?
How do you convince them that they can have a superpower on special teams? I mean, you just think back over time, and I go back to the guy that follows you around now, Darren Lee, right? Like, early in his career, maybe didn't play a ton at linebacker, but dude, that guy was a force on special teams, right? That guy had wedge busters too back then. But how do you convince a kid that you can find your superpower on special teams, and then who might be that guy that makes it all better right now? I know you brought up Bowen, but is there anybody else that might make it all better right now?
Sure. First part of that question, I asked the very first special team, how many guys want to play in the NFL? They better raise their hand or they're at the wrong university. You want to play in the league, you better play on teams, period. So every time we have a guy coming back here, Scotty Matlack, Khalil Shakur, J.L. Skinner, the first thing I'd have him do is talk about what's your role on special teams. Because when you're on an active roster, if you can't play on special teams, you're not playing. And you're not getting paid. So first of all, if you want to play in the league, you better be able to do this. You better walk into an OTA, a mini camp, and you better be ready to go. Because there's only so many Tom Brady's, you know what I mean? Like that you have to be able to play on special teams. You need that skill set. The second part with that, when you play better on special teams, we play better as a team. It all goes together. So that's the first message of understand, man, this is your ultimate goal. If you want this to be your ultimate goal, you have to put it on tape. And I talk to him. I'll show him, hey, I got a call from this NFL team this morning, from this special teams coordinator, from this GM, okay? And they're asking about this. They're not calling me to ask them about tight end play, linebacker play, DB play. Stace, can this guy do this on punt return? Stace, can this guy do this on punt? Those are real questions, real decisions being made. So this time of year is great. They get a chance to see him. I show the George Halani video all the time. And I remember when the Seahawks special teams coordinator called me, told me, any guys you got that we should get into camp? Boom, there's a guy. Was injured a bunch, so on and so forth. So sending that message that, hey, you want to make it to the next level, you have to do this. Let's not talk about generational money. Let's not talk about taking care of your family, okay, unless you're a war daddy on special teams. The second part of seeing who's going to step up, right now, that's what we're finding out. We're finding out the guys that maybe got a little bit of run last year. I meet with every one of them individually. Right? As soon as I get back in January, February, when I'm on the road, these are the things you're doing well. These are the things that we've got to clean up. And I want to see that gain as we go through spring. I'll meet with them again in spring and talk about as we head into fall camp. And I think there's a good chunk of them that have made good. Now, we're 5 practices in, so that's not a huge sample size, but you can see a lot of it. And like I said, there's some guys that we've brought in here. Rico's one that's played a lot of football. He jumps on tape. You can tell that he's going to help us in special. Madden's a great young one. Like, he's doing a good job in the return game, but man, you watch our competitive drills, this dude, Rashawn Jones, those are examples of guys that you see flashing. Now we got to see consistency. And then you got to really look at the guys that have been here, a year plus. Hey, Sincere, I got to see consistency on this. You know what I mean? And I've seen it from him. He's made growth. That would be an example. Mana played a lot of special teams for us. That production's got to be more, And so you're trying to piece all those together. And the other thing that helps, you got competition. You got, as your roster gets deeper on overall, you get better on special teams. And I've seen that as, going into the spring.
At linebacker, what's the biggest thing you lose with Marco, and how's that group kind of coming along?
Yeah, Marco, you talk about superpowers. Marco is the smartest guy in the room. smarter than Chin, smarter than me, and he can make more adjustments as going across the board. Marco could do that at the elite level. So you lose that guy in the room. Now, I think we got a good core of guys that understand our system. We've made some tweaks and turns off of that, but that's what you're replacing. You're replacing a green dot that can get 10 other guys lined up, can get you in and out of calls in a critical situation, and has an elite understanding of what we're asking them to do. So it's college football. Guys leave. I think Bowen Phelps has stepped up immensely. He's only gotten better and better. His first 5 practices, his practice Saturday, really, really good. And he has that alpha in him right there with it. So Bo's a guy like that. You look at older guys like Jake Ripp, that's what he's got to lean on. And Jake's trimmed up, and his ability and space has been a huge part. You see how we try to recruit more DBs right now. Big DBs, move them to linebacker, be more athletic in space. That translates to special teams too. Like, you see speed in space, it is exemplified on special teams right there. So that's some areas. Same thing, some of the guys I've talked about on teams, the Manas, the Sinceres, that, hey, you're going into year 2 now and we're making good strides. Logan Brantley, who's a guy who's older, he's, physical guy. You're seeing some twitch out of him as he's working through it. Sam Brooks is another DB that we moved over, big safety that we moved over, that's now getting a better feel in that linebacker box. No different than Bowen. It takes a little bit of time. Things happen fast in that box right there. And our young guys like Adam Austin and Rocky Dunn are both high school safeties that have only got better and better and bigger and bigger. And then Zaire Lewis, you're working through some JC safety working that. And then the guy we got back, Ty Tanner, who's a lot like Marco, like he knows what we're doing out. So I probably missed somebody in there as we're working through it, but that's what you're looking for within that group. Yeah.
After 4 years with Mason, who's in the mix, and what do you look for from somebody at that position that's new?
Yeah, well, Mason. First of all, Mason Hutton did a great job of developing here. He's an NFL long snapper. Now, there's 32 of those jobs, so that's tough. But Mason's got length. He flicks. What people don't understand is he's elite in protection. And in the NFL, you have to be an elite in protection to be able to make it. So Mason's going to get his shot. That's well-deserved, and he's done a great job. So he's not an easy guy to replace. We brought Caden in. Caden's done a nice job. He's done a nice job fitting into our system. He's got a history with Oscar because they played together at Weber State. That never hurts when you're dealing with specialists. And then we got a freshman coming in that I think is going to be really good and challenge also.
What have you seen out of even the growth of Mana? And I think that if you look at where he played for you on kickoff return last year, like, you probably have to have a different type of toughness to even kind of like want to play that position as a true freshman. So what did you see out of him?
Yeah, Mana's one of his superpowers too. He's a coach's kid. He knows what we're trying to do. Like, he can play both Mike and Will for us. He can play multiple spots on special teams. So I want to see him continue to grow. I think Mana's had a good 5 practices. And I think he's, we'll see where we're at the end, but I think he's made good growth. And his role, he started for us on punt. He started for us on kick return, will only get better and better. And I want to see that continue to climb.
A guy like Bowen, you touched on it there, but I think when you walk on, like, naturally, you spend most of your career like just trying to earn everybody's respect and earn a role on the team. But once you get to that point, maybe the next step is finding your own voice, right? So I don't know, where's Bowen at that in that progression, and how much do you want him to kind of like go to that next phase, if you will?
Yeah. 2 things me and Bowen talked about in the offseason. Number 1, consistently fit and run at an elite level. And he's done a great job of that in 5-pack. 2, you need to be the alpha in the room. You need to be the voice in the room right there. And I think he's done a really good job of that going up to this point in spring.
You mentioned Sincere. Where can he kind of take that next step?
Oh, so I think Sincere's twitchy, man. Like, you watch, and he's physical. Some of the things we're just cleaning up with Sincere is some of his eye progression off of that, and some pad level. Those are the 2 biggest things, because he's got the physical tools, and he's got the 1-2. He works his tail off. So if we can get those things clean, Sincere's going to be in a really good spot.
Sam Brooks.
Yeah. Sammy's long athlete that's grown into the position. I think he's 216, 218 pounds right now. Consistency with movements in the box. A lot of the same conversations that I had with Bowen a year ago, I'm having with Sammy now. We made the move with Sammy. I can't remember week 6, week 7, where it was at right there. And so that is the biggest key, is consistency. Linebacker is a short area quickness move. It's a diagnosis position. And then Sammy has the athletic in space to cover, to blitz and do some things there. But just consistency with my footwork, and then how I'm diagnosing and reading plays.
I mean, you guys lost a lot. You mentioned Marco, but whether it was Ty or just you can go down the list, all the veteran guys, multi-year starters that you're gone from defense. What's going to be the identity of this defense, and how do you just feel about the the overall defense?
I like the identity. I think we've added some pieces. I think they've meshed well. There's a lot of work to be done. The identity's got to start with a relentless effort and violent tackling. If we can get those things rolling and we can tackle better in space violently and target at the thigh boards, we're going to be in a really good spot.
Kickers, Stacy, obviously Colson coming back, but Keenan looks to have a decent leg on him too. Just how are you seeing those two working this year and going forward?
Yeah, Keenan probably doesn't get enough credit. I mean, this kid's a lot like Bowen Phelps. Walked in as a walk-on, and next thing you know, he's done a great job. His dad's a high school soccer coach. You can tell he's a coach's kid. He's done a great job. And so those guys continue to compete, continue to get after each other. It's been good. Like, they had a really good day last Tuesday. I think we only missed one on Saturday. Like that's the expectation. We gotta be higher in those overall percentages, especially from the 25-yard line in. And I think just like any position there, like they're pushing each other off of it, and that's been good. And Kane has kicked off well too. Part of the reason we ended up taking him is in high school went through some kicking stuff competition-wise that really jumped at me, and it was kickoff. He struggled with that last year, and what we've seen so far this year, he's been really good. So that's a positive from a field goal standpoint and also from a kickoff standpoint.
Just with kickoff, I guess, where's Kanan's limit? What kind of distances has he been hitting?
Yeah, so the other day, he was 3 to 5 deep on all three of the ones we went live under pressure, which if we can stay in that range, we're in a great spot. He doesn't quite have yet. He's going to get stronger and stronger. Boone's got an elite leg there, and so he was kicking it 8 to 9 deep. But Kanan's made great growth.
Good.
If I remember correctly, I don't think Oscar was in spring for you guys last year, and I don't think Boomer was either. Just having both the specialists in spring, what's that mean for you guys?
It helps a lot. They get a chance to know you. You get a chance to put them in situations in front of the team. Because you can do whatever you want on the side. It's a lot like golf. You can sit there, chip, putt, everything. You get on hole 16, can you make that shot? And so as much as we can put pressure on them in front of the team, in front of everybody, and at times they're going to miss. They're going to make mistakes. I want to see how they bounce back. And that's as important as anything to me. You miss one field goal, let's make the adjustment. Now let's get it right. So having our hands on them, having them in our strength and conditioning program also allows them to get better and better. And for us to get a feel, every kicker punter is a little bit different. I got 4 daughters. They're all different. My oldest, I put my arm around her and tell her what to do. She'll do it 10 out of 10 times. My second daughter, it's going to get loud, okay? So I want to make sure I know their personality because it matters a lot because how are they going to handle it on game day? How do we get – as simple as, hey, you get iced on a kick, what is our routine? How are we doing this? Let's walk through it. We're going to do that a lot. And put you in those situations. So when game day hits, it's not the first time we've ever been through. We got to put you in that as much as possible and make sure, hey, those because special teams is a 1 rep max. That's it. We don't get to line up and fit power again. We don't get to line up, it's one shot. And so we want to make sure we're training them that way.
Fun off-topic one. The UFL is experimenting with some special teams rules, 4 points for a 60-yard field goal, and also you can't punt once you get across the 50. Just as a special teams coach, what do you think when you hear of those kind of rules?
Well, I like 60-yard field goal, 4 points. I can live with that one. Now, we got a sky punt and pin it. I think that's part of the game. And, it's interesting. There's some NCAA rule changes going on right now that are, you're always evolving. You see what the NFL's done. So I do think it cracks me up being a special teams guy. Like, they don't talk about it much because it's the special teams phase. But, man, if it was offense or defense, this thing would be going wild. But you better be able to adapt. You better be able to adjust. Like, you're dealing with 115, whatever the number is, 105 to 115 guys, and you're getting a third of the time at best, probably a fifth of the time if you want to have a real conversation. So being able to stay on top of that stuff, being able to adjust to your question, Jay, being able to find the right guys, put them in the best position. You're getting 35 to 40 special teams plays a game, sometimes less than that, depending on what it is. Those things are valuable. And so you gotta put them in those situations. You got to do everything you can to make sure you're finding the right guys. And within that, you're getting the schemes, the effort, and all of that to make sure that 1 rep, where there's 40 to 60 yards or there's points on the boards, right? It's happening. That's what we got to make sure we're doing a great job of over spring.
Do you think the NFL kickoff rule will find its way into college?
I think they really wanted it to do that. I think it hasn't quite went the way the NFL wanted it to. 2 years ago, I would have told you it's already in right now. Now, who am I? They could change it tomorrow, but I just don't think it's quite went the way the NFL wanted right now, and I think that's why it may, but not right now.
What do you think the NFL wanted out of it that they didn't get?
I think they wanted more returns. And then, for them, there was a speed and space area. But you talk about personnel on a 53-man roster right there, like that drill totally changed. You're talking about guys with speed and space to now you're in a tighter phone booth. Like you're talking a whole different body type change. You're talking a roster change. There's a lot of different dynamics that happen with a rule change like that.
I recall Colton Heavy was even like injured a little bit during spring or fall camp last year, or needed a procedure or something. How much? He had an okay year last year still, but how much better of a spot is he in? Maybe now that that stuff's behind him or not? Or
It's a huge. I mean, Colton hardly kicked any field goals. I think we were 2-3 practices in when he had the injury, and then we're basically rolling into game week before that, and that's not ideal by any stretch. There's a lot of different things you can fix from just your mental self-talk, what the routine you're going through, and so him being healthy, him having a chance to get himself stronger, I do think that affected him a little bit too throughout the season because we had to limit some of the things he can do in the weight room. So yeah, I mean when you got. And no different than the question about not having Oscar or Colton here in the spring. I mean, you want your guys here. I don't care what position you're at.
Anything else? Thanks, Coach.
Yep. Thanks, guys.